Welcome back, everybody. This is Sam IT. I'm Scott Allen Miller, and today we're going to talk about rebranding and how often it is used to trick customers. Now, I'm going to use some examples here, and I don't really mean to pick on Microsoft, but Microsoft kind of has a track record of doing this and being really good at confusing people, and so we're going to pick on them a little bit. Sorry, Microsoft. So, when you have a product and it doesn't do very well, you may want to slap a new brand on it and let people forget that you had a product they didn't like, and maybe the new one will take off when the old one has failed. This sounds crazy. What kind of consumer would forget a bad product and just let you rename it and go on and keep using it anyway? Sadly, this is normal. Cellular One and AT&T did this. I'm sorry, Singular. I think that was Cellular One turned into Singular, and then they changed their name. They kept changing their name by buying other companies because they had such a bad track record. Eventually, people actually did forget who they were and managed to keep their customers, even though their customers hated them under their old name. Microsoft has done this with a number of products, one of which is what we currently call Skype for Business. This one is not just rebranded, but confusingly branded at different times. Traditionally, at least at some point, this was known as MS Communicator. Under the brand MS Communicator, this was known to be a completely garbage product that didn't work at all. After they tried to revamp it some, they renamed it to Link, hoping that people would think it was a new product rather than simply a new version of the old one. Surprisingly, a lot of people got fooled by this and decided to invest in Link, and found out pretty promptly that it was a garbage product that didn't work much better than MS Communicator did, and in some cases worked worse. They then, just a couple years later, said, well, that didn't work. We tied a bad experience to that product, so we're going to rebrand it again. And this time they called it Skype for Business, hoping that not only a rebrand, but confusingly copying the name of a completely unrelated product would confuse people even further, which it did, and lots of people jumped on Skype for Business, either thinking it was a new product or thinking it was somehow related to Skype, which in the past had been a good product. Instead, it was still more of a bad product, although possibly better than Link and MS Communicator had been. It still wasn't very good, but the rebranding was pretty powerful and did work this time. Instead of carrying on with Skype and making a product that was decent like Skype, they actually took Skype and turned it into Skype for Business. And I don't mean that by taking it and the thing that you use as Skype for Business is Skype. I mean that they literally took their Skype and took Skype for Business and applied Skype for Business over Skype. So the great product that we knew as Skype is gone. It hasn't existed for some time. It's using Skype for Business under the hood, and that's why it doesn't work very well anymore. So instead of one bad product that everyone knew what it was, and one good product that everyone knew what it was, now there's only one product and it's not very good, and they're looking at replacing that possibly with Teams because it's not going very well. But this is a pretty standard market approach that has worked pretty well. Microsoft did this again after 2 decades of the Windows software RAID not being a very good product and people panning it pretty heavily in the field. They decided that renaming it Storage Spaces, when adding a few new features to it, would confuse people enough that suddenly they would think that 20 years of really bad software RAID was suddenly a great idea. As crazy as that sounds, it was incredibly effective, and people rave about storage spaces, even though it's really just a few extra things with lots of problems slapped on top of the existing bad software RAID system. And it's proven to not have a great track record. It may improve in time, but with Microsoft's track record of what they do with things they've rebranded to hide their shame, it probably won't. Lots of other products have done this in the field. This is not unique to Microsoft. We're just picking on them because they have a couple really high, prominent products that are extremely well known. Citrix has also done something similar by taking the Zen brand and buying the brand name Zen and slapping the name Zen, which is a virtualization product, onto a bunch of non-virtualization products in the hopes of continuing to confuse their customers, which they certainly have. And pretty much everyone using Zen has no idea what they bought or why, and they think it's virtualization, but it's probably not. And it's actually become kind of embarrassing in many ways to use Citrix products, because if you use Citrix, almost everyone assumes that you bought it by mistake and didn't know what you were buying. But a lot of people do buy it for that reason, and so Citrix has kind of gone forward with that market strategy, and now every single product made by Citrix has Zen in its name, and it means absolutely nothing, and no one knows what Citrix even does anymore. I'm not even sure Citrix knows, but maybe they have some clarification somewhere in the back end. Anyway, what's important here is be aware that branding does this from time to time. Always be on the lookout for it. Be aware that this is a thing and you need to keep your own memory of the market because other people won't do it for you. The general masses will be completely misled by a new name and will give no group memory to the old products. So it's an extremely powerful marketing technique because crowds simply forget and move on and believe the marketing hype. Remember to like and subscribe. Do you have any examples of things like this that have happened with other products? Definitely put those in the comments below. And as always, you can sponsor us on Patreon, and I promise this channel has not changed its name. Discover how easy and affordable business telephone service can be. Say it with Talkadillo.